My guest Sabrina and her husband had no physical intimacy, zero, and they had no respect for each other. Then Sabrina decided to do several unexpected things, and slowly, so slowly, things got more peaceful. And then they got closer, and then the physical intimacy came back. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Sabrina, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the Empowered by podcast.
Thank you. This really is a dream because I've listened to every single podcast. I probably won't even be able to listen to this just hearing my voice, my self-consciousness, but just knowing that I can give back after I've listened to every single podcast is powerful. So thank you.
Wow, so exciting. I can't wait to hear the whole story. And I love that this is where you got some of the inspiration that got you where you are today, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay, well, let's start. I love to hear about the bad old days, what was happening or not happening.
Okay. Well, I want to say that before the bad old days were the good old days. We had a fairy tale meeting. We are both in a 12-step program. That's where I met my husband. He was the speaker. He was funny, charming, charismatic. We met and kind of had a whirlwind romance. I think we moved in together within like 4 months of meeting in a dream apartment in downtown LA. We both loved travel. We both love humor. I mean, there were so many things where he was the guy that was the answer to all the other non-committal guys. My husband was so committal, so ready to move in, so ready to get married, even more ready than me to have a kid at the time. He was just like, he was an answer to so much, dare I say, like manifesting work from back in the day. And he was kind of like, he was really, really perfect, except that from the beginning, we had some ideological differences that came up. We chose to say, okay, we're not going to make this a thing, like our difference. We're not going to make this a thing that rules us, but it was there. I remember having a fight outside of my friend's house. This was before we had a kid, and just like, Laura, it's embarrassing to say, but my husband and I are both proud, smart, proud people, proud of our intellects. So it didn't seem strange to me that we would, fight. And then just that feeling when you go in someone's house after you've had words in the car and just have each thought that the other was, I hate to say it, but like wrong and stupid. It was just like we would do that thing like, you're wrong and you're stupid. And I would say that is the seed of disrespect that flowered eventually in the zero physical contact. And it's really sad to say. But I want to say also that, wait, I think I'm probably talking too much.
No, you're not.
Okay. Well, okay, what I want to say is before your program and the word respect, I really think I was completely blind to the necessity of respect. I thought I can work on being attractive and I will get these boyfriends. And why does it always end up that they end up being angry at me or withdrawing from me or not, doing what I want or, it's like I had reverse magnetism. I would be magnetic and then I'd be completely unmagnetic. And I would say that my disrespect that I was blind to, I didn't even see that is what finally flowered into the zero physical intimacy. This was so very painful to me.
Yes. It is very painful. And I love how you paint the picture for us of that whole thing where you've had these words and you get to the party or you get wherever you're going and you kind of suck it up and just act like everything's cool. But really you're just thinking, man, he was wrong. I remember this, and he's kind of an idiot, right? Like that was, so I'm just so strongly identify with that. And also having no clue that this actually has anything to do with respect or disrespect, thinking, well, it's just, I'm just really smart. I just know things. This is
I
how it
have
is.
to speak my mind,
I have to speak.
right?
My opinion counts,
Yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
know, that's why I love you. That's why I
I
love your
know.
program.
But it's like you just brought me right back to like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, and not just and being so clueless about what could be wrong and why you were you became resistible instead of irresistible. So okay, so everything's really good, and then there's these fights about ideological stuff, and you are feeling so much smarter, and then the physical intimacy just stops, and it's incredibly painful. Like it's
Yeah.
talk about feeling rejected, right?
Right. Well, the second part, because physical intimacy was still there then and love was still there. The second part of where it got bad was parenting. So it really started around, and it's so funny because I remember thinking, is this what people mean by the terrible twos? And it was kind of very similar where like where I say ideological difference. He had one idea of how we had to parent, and my idea was completely different. And, it's just so sad because when I look back and I realize, like, same thing, like, I didn't even see that there was a way that maybe he's right, like I was so sure I was right. I mean, honestly, if I could go back in time, I'd probably go, well, wait, I was right. You know what I mean? There were things that I really felt right about, but the cost to me was horrible. And it's so funny because now we really parent his way much more than we parent my way. And now I just go, you know what? It's so much more peaceful. Why did I feel? See, that's the thing about the addiction to rightness.
Hmm.
I could be right and be extremely unhappy. It's that saying, you could be right or you can be happy. Maybe I was right. Who knows? But the thing is, I was so unhappy. There wasn't peace in our home. He wanted less and less to do with me. And so even if I was right, I was very unhappy and he was very unhappy. So
Tell me a little bit about that, like the terrible twos. So what were you wanting to?
Oh,
What were you wanting to
okay. I
go?
have a distinct memory of my daughter tantruming on the floor, like fists, legs, and just he was very like, very sweet and loving. And I can't remember. I think I had some idea that she needed to be punished or, like this, she needed, my favorite word was consequences. She has to have a consequence. If she doesn't have a consequence, how's she ever going to learn? And honestly, I do think there's a lot to consequences. But like I said, the whole thing was I would just make things like grandstanding and lecture and I'm right and I was a teacher, so I know this and that. Well, he was a psychologist, so he knows this and that. So it was just like a battle of the experts. And it was a mutual disrespect. And we would each look at each other like, oh, you believe that? It's just like, there you go. There you go. I want to paint that picture, right?
Yeah, and this was causing so it was causing your marriage to break down. It sounds like it was causing some distance,
Yes.
at least.
Yeah, and I know that the distance was there. We went to 4 different types of couples counselors before I found you. And each one would address it. We went to one for sex in quite early in the beginning, around when we tried to conceive our second child, when I became very imperious about we need to conceive, we must have sex every single day, otherwise we can't conceive. Like thinking that one failed when that therapist left her husband for an affair. So we left that therapist. Then our second therapist was this really nice guy who seemed a little confused as to why my husband wasn't attracted to me. Then the third therapist was
Like, thank
actually
you.
helpful.
Right?
Yeah. The third therapist gave us one piece of advice. He said, don't discuss politics ever. Best piece of advice, was worth the $250 we paid for the hour, but we never went back. but it was really good advice. And then the fourth one, oh, she tried so hard. And that was right around when I found your book. And so it was almost like I would say to her, look, I'm trying to use this book. And I remember at a certain point, I think I said to my husband, you know, in the book, she calls it marriage. I think you say it marriage counseling instead of marriage counseling. And I love that. And I said, you know, maybe, and all of this confluence, the whole breakdown peaked during COVID and especially, so I found RHW, your program, The Ridiculous Happy Wife, in 21 out of sheer desperation after our breakdown. And I think we had already, because we had been seeing the therapist on Zoom in COVID, but it was really not clicking. And so in 21, in desperation, like I remember I wrote it in my calendar, like August 15th, it was 21. I was like, this is it. It was the bathroom floor crying day, you know, like the puddle of tears on my bathroom floor. I joined RHW the next day, raised my hand on the very first call, had Coach Dar coach me, stayed for a month. And the most powerful thing I learned in that month is, oh my God, these women are not all obsessed with politics and COVID. Maybe this is part of my problem. I was stunned that people were like really interested in family and how they showed up in their families. And like, I realized I had strayed so far from a vision that had anything to do with intimacy. Like I was just, as I put in the thing to apply to be on your podcast, I was just married to righteousness. I mean, it was like, who's right, what they're right about. I'm right. I'm sure I'm right. I read articles. I'm right. You know, just like that. I was married to being right more than I was married to my husband. And no wonder he didn't want to hug or kiss or have physical intimacy, you know?
So, and you were letting him know that you were right and he was
Right.
wrong. It sounds
Yep.
like. So porcupine wife, you become a porcupine wife.
Well, and I hate to say it, but when you said the mutual disrespect in your intro, I could see in his eyes how much he thought I was completely out of my mind. I was very not smart. I was a very dangerous person. I was possibly crazy. I mean, it was just like we were just about as opposite as you can be.
It does sound like it's painful, hurtful. Ouch.
Yes.
Ouch to
Terrible.
have your husband treat you, act like you're the crazy one. So, oh my gosh. So, yeah. So you're probably not super attracted to him either, but
You know what? I love physical intimacy so much. I was like,
so you're like, it's all good.
hey,
It's all good. Okay.
you know,
Okay.
it's like I love validation as much as I love being right. So
Yeah. 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 Okay. Totally makes sense. So it really was like something where he was like, no, this is not happening. And
yes,
you were, and you have said to him, like, I think we should, or let's do it, or
all the
why
time,
won't you, or what else?
over and over. In fact, that was how I originally found your first book, The Surrendered Wife. And I don't know if it was you or Kathy. Somebody was on a radio show, and when they mentioned them being the one who wanted sex more than the husband, bing, I ordered the book that day, bought my sister a copy, read it, took the quiz at front of Surrendered Wife. I mean, I was all in, and I knew in the back it said something about you used to have like a different kind of group, like you know, they'd say like do groups in your living room, or like I read all the stuff, but it was so great that when I was finally really, really ready to go all in, which was January 2nd, 2022, your stuff was so easy to find on the internet. Like there was the coaching program, and there was, you know, it wasn't just RHW. There were all these options. And anyway, it was easy to follow all the steps to find everything once I was all in. And can I just share my all in story real quick?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love it.
Okay. So my all in story is, like I said, Dar helped me and the group helped me realize other women had better values and priorities than me. I'm just going to be frank about it. And I was humbled. And then, but I thought, well, I'd switched jobs, and I was like, well, and money was insecure for a minute there. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can, kind of figure this out on my own with the book or whatever. No. And then, so January 2022, we had the loneliest, saddest, like New Year's Day attempt at physical intimacy that was just so lonely. And I went on a walk the next day. I was crying. I was lonely. And I felt like I heard a voice in my head say, contact the Laura Doyle program. And so I got the discovery call. It was Coach Mari, who used to coach here. And I just signed right up for Diamond. And I would say it was from that point that I never looked back, that I went all in.
Wow. So so it felt like it sounds like a spiritual thing. Like you were
Oh, for
bad
sure.
enough to be open, the gift of desperation.
Yeah, and I want to add one little extra detail there. I thought with another spiritual book that I did get some relief from. I thought, well, maybe I could do it. No, the thing that I needed from your community and why I'm still in your community, I participate in your community a lot, is I need accountable community and I need it daily. I'm somebody who needs a lot of miracles and I need them daily. And if I'm not having my own miracle, I need to hear that Duane's having hers and Kathy's having hers, and yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And how great to give yourself the thing that you know is going to make you thrive, that community.
I want to throw in two other quick little stories. One, I thought I would never be able to do Diamond. That's just for rich people. And Mari was such a good salesperson, and the money was in my account. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And zero regret. Then relationship coach training. I thought, there's just no way I can do that. That would be like, I'd have to be mega rich. My husband would have to have millions and millions. And I mean, it's kind of weird how I did end up paying for it, maybe in not the cleanest way. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't ask him first. I just came up with a way to pay it. I cashed out something to pay for it. But again, no looking back. And I'm so glad that at two things where I was like, that is something only for people with a lot of money, that I did choose me. I love how you guys always say that. And I really think there is something deeply profound and highly leveraged about making that kind of investment in myself.
Yeah. Almost like if you didn't have to invest, like, would you even have the results you have now? Like
Yeah.
it's a
I
big,
know.
yeah.
Okay.
I know. I love it. I love those stories. Like you said yes to and now you are in the community and you have it every day and you'll have it for life. You'll always have it.
I love
So
that.
I know. Me too. So, okay. I want to go back to this moment when you are reading the book and you feel, and I love the way you describe having an addiction to being right. Cause I relate to that too. So how is it landing for you when you read the book and find out like, whoa, or like you describe this feeling like these other women had better priorities than you? I mean, that's a painful kind of yucky moment, isn't it?
Well, actually, I felt humbled, and it is one of the reasons I'm really, really still so all in on your community, because sometimes it's still news to me, Laura, that like, seriously, I never thought about how do I want to show up other than how I looked. I put all my energy there. I didn't think about like soft tone, you know, I didn't think about that. Um, showing up smiling. I didn't, just like so many of these things, it just really wasn't on my radar. So it's like a humbling admission, and it keeps me in the community. I am still stunned. I hate to say that I realize how much nicer a lot of people are than me, but that's one of the things that comes to mind. How much nicer, softer, like, and like, I need that because I can still get a little out there and still be a little governed by my own thinking. And so it's really nice to hear like, all the other ways, the softer ways, the feminine ways, like all these things. I remember joking to some people, oh, in this program, and they use the word dignity all the time. Like, I've never wanted to be dignified in my life, and now I do. I have it on my vision that I want to be dignified. And, so that's an example of where 2 years ago I was making jokes about it. And now I'm like, wow, actually it is neat, like, I do like feeling dignified.
I love that. I relate to you so much. For me, it was humility. Why would
Yeah.
anyone want to be humble? I don't even understand the concept. I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But now I can appreciate that it is nice. So something in it spoke to you, and you were like, okay, I'm going all in. What did you start doing differently than you had been doing things?
Love that question. And the two things that definitely come to mind, gratitude lists, which I joined all in January 2022. By February, I was making them daily. I still make them daily. I love lists. I think I've heard you say you love lists too. Lists, if doesn't matter if I'm depressed, I just think of a topic for a list. I start making a list in my head. I make lists on my iPhone, guaranteed to pull me out, just guaranteed to pull me out. It could be a gratitude list. It could be all the miracles I've had since I've been in your program list. The other day I started just a miracles of my life list, like being born, like just it, like positive lists are one of my favorite things. And I think it would be under the skill of gratitude in your program, just to pull me out of, I have had, I can be attracted to dark and heavy thinking. And so just by taking that one skill, gratitude, guaranteed to reverse that, guaranteed to reverse me from going down that rabbit hole of, negativity.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And um,
Oh, and the other one, self-care.
oh, self care. Tell me
Self-care.
about that.
Yes. So self-care, self-soothe, self-validation. I tell myself different things to remind myself, what is self-care? Because I didn't really know what that meant. It's like something that was printed on a coffee cup in like a kitschy, So I didn't really know what that meant. But when I go self-soothe, self-validate, stuff my spirit likes. And now I've narrowed it down. I've made it so that there's a guaranteed three things: music. If I'm really in my head with needless emotional turmoil, as you define it, music with no words. Water, I can drink it, I can immerse in it, and taking a walk. If I do any iteration of those three, I will get out of net.
Sure thing. You've got your
Yes. Yeah, and I love that you say do it 3 times a day. I'm pretty much in perpetual self-care since I'm only working part-time, and I love it, and there's always new and fun things to do with that.
awesome. Oh, and what a great feeling to know. Like I've got my get out of jail free card right here.
Yeah,
It's gonna be one of these three things, and I always
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, love that. And so, okay, so you're making your gratitude lists, and you are getting yourself happy. You're getting out of net,
Uh-huh.
especially. And what's happening in your marriage? Like, how is this?
He's not really appreciating any of
No,
it. But you
no.
know what? I love that happens in our community. I did the thing for his 60th birthday. I did the 60 gratitudes. To this day, he's never mentioned it. Some of the
Ouch.
self-care he even seemed to resent because I left my work and I was doing this perpetual self-care and he was still working and he felt the burden of that. And so it was like Sabrina's at the beach again, like I did 30 days of swimming in the ocean, like it was glorious. I would never take it back, but I could see why that might stir some resentment in somebody who's working and not having that same experience. And I'll be honest with you, in some ways, this is a strange thing to say, but it makes sense. I think in some ways, my immersion in gratitude and self-care actually triggered my husband to a little bit part of his nervous breakdown, which is a recent event.
Wow.
Yes. And I think it's because and I read a great, I read another marriage book too. I'm not going to mention it or anything, but he says when one member of the couple starts differentiating, which is like the self-care, self-validation, self-soothe, all of that, it, it definitely has an effect on the other member, whether they want it or not, you know? I think it brought like him a little bit of a crucible too, where he was like, I don't know. But anyway, that is sort of the what happened and what it's like now. We didn't really start to come together until he had a bit of a breakdown in the fall.
Okay, so this makes me curious because you mentioned there was a lot of disrespect, mutual
Right.
disrespect.
Right.
So you're doing the gratitude and the self-care, really great job with that. And it creates, I mean, there's foreshadowing here. There's going to be a
Yeah.
nervous breakdown. How was the respect piece? I'm just curious about that since we,
The respect piece was pretty good. I was doing a ton of gratitudes and the humble, vulnerable ones like, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for paying our mortgage every month. Thank you for paying for our daughter's school. Thank you for working, and really like felt, and like he'd be freaking out over money and I would be like, really like, thank you. And I would really, really mean it. And I only say in part because the other part was circumstances. He had a couple months where he didn't get a paycheck. He's an entrepreneur. And I think his fear, because he was the sole provider for both myself and my daughter, I think the fear was a huge trigger for him too. But what I want to say is I want to say how I used your skills to bring us as a couple through that horrific crucible that he had to go through of his breakdown.
yeah, let's hear it. I would love to hear.
The first and number one was, and it's so neat because I only heard Coach Darlene say this recently, that spouse fulfilling prophecy is something that you have said is the most powerful skill of all. She said that recently. I'd never heard that before. But I went to the hospital. My husband said I could talk about this, where he was, a patient with a little perfume on, with my dress, with my lip gloss. And I really credit to this spouse fulfilling prophecy and the self care on the way there, which was jazz because I couldn't even hear words because I had some net. I was really connecting with it. And I got there with my perfume, my dress, my lip gloss. And I said, I know how much you want to take care of me and our daughter. And I truly think that is like, on the one end, I couldn't believe it because, he had this terrible thing happen and was something that is in its history. It wasn't out of nowhere. But I think that I really felt like the angels were walking with me in there. And like, I was like the power of me bringing that presence and declaring that statement is what brought him out of the hospital. Yeah.
Wow.
At
Incredible.
least I want to think that in my
Yeah.
head, that's how it went,
Well, it's a big, what I got from it is you were choosing your faith. Like you had
Yeah.
all kinds of evidence and
Yeah.
all kinds of fear. The fear
Yeah.
was there. Doubt
Yeah.
was whispering. Could have chosen that and
Yeah.
you could have gone in there and said, well, what are we going to do? And this,
Yeah.
boy, this is not a surprise. Really, this happened, there's a history or whatever,
Yes.
right? It
Yeah.
could have been focused on that.
Yeah.
Instead, so this was like ultimate. What a great respect story too, really.
Thank
You
you.
saw the best in him,
Yeah.
and him wanting to provide, even though it sounds like there'd been some ouchiness going on
Yeah.
that you weren't working anymore, and he was providing. Like there
Right.
was.
Yeah.
So
There you
this, it felt probably like the biggest lie in a way.
It did, but it felt like, hey, I've heard other people in my program your program, Ridiculously Happy Wives. Ladies, if any of you haven't tried it yet, you hear miracle after miracle in that program. So it's like, I just felt like I'm going to try this experiment because I've heard other people talk about things they've done in the face of seemingly impossible or, horrific or whatever,
Incredible. I mean, yeah, it gives me chills because you're right. We see miracles, and you make it sound like it was easy, but it kind of wasn't, right? It was terrifying.
Well, the fun part was putting on the dress, the perfume, the lip gloss, enjoying the jazz. That's the thing about self-care, right? It's like it forces you to be in the moment. And so in the moment, it's like I read a ton of spiritual books, but they're right when they say in the moment, everything is okay, And along the lines of that, because there was a lot of financial insecurity through all this, I want to mention your eye cream story has very much helped me too. Because when I was making perpetual lists during the worst of this, and when I had first initially become unemployed, I would remind myself, yes, I can get something like eye cream. If the listeners don't know, it's a list that you provided. I think you provided it in the book, right? About when you were financially insecure. It's like, well, there's milk in the fridge and I can still get my fun eye cream that I like, you know? And as long as like those daily things are there, it's like I'm still going like, okay, but today I can get the eye cream if I want, you know, like I don't know about a month from now, but today I can afford the eye cream. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So this is very much you choosing your faith, and
yeah.
I admire it so much. That is so courageous. And it sounds like it lit up something in him as well. So what happened as a result of this?
Well, it's still ongoing. I am living, you know, the reason I signed up for the podcast now is I have never been more 24/7 in having to choose faith over fear, in wanting to experiment with my skills, in wanting to, it also hugely helps because as a result of your relationship coach training program, now I'm a coach, I have a clients, you know, working with clients really, that I feel like working with clients not only synced it for me, because once you're giving back, it, you know, you learn so much more. I also
Totally.
think that maybe because there was just that little extra thing of like, oh, I'm working again, gave me the confidence. And then it was like literally 1 week after I started working again, the physical intimacy was restored. Yes.
So sounds like maybe just a coincidence, but but
I,
probably not.
yeah, I don't think it was him. I think it was me. I think that I am still a validation junkie. Don't get me wrong. And so just like that validation that I was working, it was like, you know, I don't know.
So okay, so it sounds like you're saying that something shifted in you, that you're working again, but and also having something happen to you that wasn't happening before you were a coach, right? Like that.
Right.
So tell me about that a little bit. What do you think you got from being a coach, from helping somebody else?
Hmm. It's like this is where the rubber meets the road. So it's like you get like not only am I living all this stuff, but I'm giving back at the exact same time. So it's like, oh, this happened today, and I get to share that with my client. Or this is what's happening with my client, and this is not what's happening with me. You know, it's just like, oh, yeah, I have a really good answer for when you say, what do you want to tell the women? But, you know, like you always ask that in your podcast,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what I wanted to say, God, now I lost it. Now I'm getting myself jumbly. But, gosh, okay, I've worked myself into a confusion. What am I
You're
learning?
doing
I'm
great.
learning
You're
that you
absolutely
have to
great.
practice this stuff. It's like if I'm practicing it, I can't tell her I'm not doing this. I can't say, you know, I can't tell somebody to do something if I'm not doing it myself. And I learn from what's going on with other people too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I love that. Yeah, I remember feeling the same way. Like, oh my gosh, if I'm not going to be respectful now, I'm just going to be a hypocrite telling her to be respectful. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm kind of cornered here.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay, and so what? Okay, so the physical intimacy came back.
Hmm.
It's pretty recent. This is pretty recent. The
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
intimacy
Yeah. Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
back. And
Yeah.
and tell me about that, because I know women are really curious. I mean, you're not the only one with that, right? So,
I'm going to be 100% honest here. When it first came back, it was as awkward as the last time that it had happened. But it was back, and I had a huge smile on my face the next day because I felt like I won, and I felt like I had this triumph, and I felt like I did it. And I told my coach friends, and you know, like it was super exciting. But then I humbly brought to practicum and to my friends that it wasn't where I wanted it to be yet, and it just keeps getting better and better and better, you know. And I love opportunities to practice.
so what do you do differently if
Oh,
it
you know what
wasn't?
I do? I'm going to say, and it's like one of my favorite things is when you said you used as your mantra, surrender, surrender, surrender. And I use is my mantra in the bed, receive, receive, receive.
Receive.
And I just say it in my head. And, you know, just just, being willing to be humble, being willing to say, gosh, I told my sister she better not listen to this podcast because this is embarrassing, but like being willing to say, I really enjoyed connecting with you last night. Thank you. Like I'm doing a lot of that. And Sabrina before this program never would have said that because it's like, he should be thanking me. And so for me to be like, thank you for I know you're taking that time. I know you love pleasing me. Like just wow, and there's so many other women doing that and being even more humble and more experimental than me. So it's always being in this community is always inspiring.
Wow. I mean, I love that because, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask is like, can you fill in the color in for us more? Like, what did you do? What do you think got it back? I mean, I know you pointed to working and stuff, but what?
Yeah, and I think also because his recent breakdown, it really it was kind of like, I think, you know what it was, Laura? I think I dropped my end of the self-righteousness first. And I think his breakdown was he finally had to drop his side and just like so many beliefs, thoughts, ways of being that he had came crashing down. And I do think I did go first. But he was so humbled that it made him really, really easy to love and really easy to want to hold on to and really easy to tell him, I love you no matter what. And really easy to tell him, I believe in you and you didn't mess up and you've always taken care of us and I believe you always will. And like all those beautiful things that it's hard to say when someone's looking at you like, I still don't know if I trust your thinking, you know?
Yeah. Wow. So it's incredible to say that in the face of somebody who's kind of looked at you like you're kind of crazy anyway. And now
Yeah.
you're saying these things that sound like a departure from reality to his face.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
must be scary, super courageous.
Well, really, actually, it felt super real because I do, it might be wrong to think that I was, that the not working was part of his breakdown. And maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right. I don't know. But all I know is he tried so hard to take care of us. And that, when it got really tight and it just to imagine the pressure he must have felt. I mean, how does that not make me just want to love, 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 and love him? And then be careful to, at the same time, I'm loving him, respect that he also has got it. He can, get up, he can go to work, he can, like thank God for your program because every day I'm hearing other people do that same dance because I can veer into being, possibly maybe like mothering. And so I have to, step away from wanting to mother and to I have to do the nurture but also respect at the same time.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it sounds like you did an incredible job, an amazing job with that. And I hear you that other people were doing experiments that inspired you. And now you did this experiment and you're inspiring them. It's just part of the ongoing cycle.
Yeah.
And what is America like now?
Well, we're still in this whole thing unfolding. So I'm living my skills. I'm showing up with a smile when my husband comes home from work. I'm doing a lot of SFPs. We meditate together, which I love, love, love. We pray together, which I love, love, love. We have time together. We hug, which we didn't used to do. Um, there's a lot of, we don't disagree about parenting like ever anymore. So a lot of the things that were the cause of the breakdown, I would never even think to bring up anything gross, ick, disgusting, political, or anything like that ever again anymore. It's just, to me, it's about like, it's so funny because the therapist we had right around when I found you said, I think when you guys say it's politics, there's so much more beneath this. And she was right about that. Like now, just the thought of getting caught up in all that sounds so disgusting to me, like such a cheap substitute for like the real stuff. And the real stuff is so much better. Like it's intimacy over control, you know?
Wow. Wow. I love that.
Yeah, and it's still unfolding. I know we still have far to go, but I love that I get to be like right smack in the river doing this. I'm receiving all the time on calls, I'm giving with my clients. And so I thought this is the time to make my declaration, you know?
Love that. I love that. So, and how old is your daughter now?
She's 15.
She's 15. Okay.
Mhm.
And so you're saying you don't fight about parenting anymore, but you guys are still raising a teenager.
Yeah.
So tell me
Yeah.
how you work that out. How does that go?
Basically, I did it his way, the way he had always wanted us to do it. And he's a very positive person, very loving person, affirming person. Of course, I've got my own personality, and me and her, we have a humor bond, just like he and I have a humor bond. And but like laughing, her and I, yes, maybe we are maybe more sarcastic than maybe some of your mother and daughters, but it's also like a beautiful bond between us because we love sarcasm, we love humor, and my husband does too. He loves to hear the jokes and stuff too. So I would say, yeah, I would say it went from a lot of self righteous grandstanding. I've replaced the self righteous grandstanding with a lot of humor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel though like you're kind of sucking it up or like your voice is lost or like that?
When I do, I go to my vision work or I go to my vision work and my goals, which is another thing you guys do a lot in your program. Maybe some of the podcast listeners won't know about imagine your future self vision and how much I do a vision list and I look at it every single morning. That helps. I chose the word dignity for with my daughter because sometimes bad words do come out of my mouth, but with her. But now I'm trying to let dignity and humor, and so I would say pointing to the going back to the vision work helps me when I feel like what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like you feel oppressed as a mom in any way. Like it's not like your influence is getting lost. Is that fair to say? Because that,
Yeah, I would say I'm probably too big an influence in some ways. But when I feel that way, because I'm a big voiced person, again, like I said, I try to look at the vision. How do I want to show up? That's one of my favorite questions. It's in my vision work that I look at it every single morning. How do I want to show up? Like, how do I want them to perceive me? And how do I want to show up? What do I want my daughter's memory of me to be? I know there's going to be a lot of laughs and a lot of music in her memories of me. I would rather have that be her memory of me than me screaming because I did a lot of screaming.
I love it. So it's a fair trade. Like the price of admission is too high for the screaming. It sounds like it's not worth it. It's just not
Right.
worth it.
Right.
You're not giving as much as you're getting with
Yeah.
this way. Okay. Because I
Mhm.
think it's something that a lot of women, and rightly so, I felt the same way. Like, what about what I think? And what about my opinion? What about my influence?
Right. Right.
And that just doesn't seem as important at this time as being able to laugh with your daughter and share music with her
Yeah.
and have your dignity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love that. That's a great, so yeah. So how has this affected her then? Like, I mean,
Hopefully for the good. Hopefully for the good. She had a breakup with her boyfriend, and right now she's pretty anti-man. But we have a lot of humor. We have a lot of trust. We have a lot of safety. So I know, and I'm looking at the long haul. Of course, I want to get in there and go. The next boyfriend, I want to talk about everything before. Like let me coach you. Um, I just know I've changed. I know she's seen me change, and I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I have the rest of my life to let that story unfold with her. But I'm sure peace in our home, me being so committed to her dad, me being the rock when everything was happening with his breakdown, tears and laughing and all the things. I know how important all that is. So, I'm sure it has an effect. I'm sure it has an effect.
Absolutely. It sounds really hard to watch your daughter go through a breakup when you are a coach and you could ease her suffering and show her all the skills. And,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but I really hear like, yeah, the safety. Yeah, she's got a big home court advantage right now that, it wasn't like this. You'd mentioned in your write up too about feeling like the progress with the skills in your marriage, and especially the physical intimacy piece, it was slow. This was slow. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because the people
Sure.
really know
Yes.
about
I
the timeline.
think that was the thing I wanted to say earlier is I wanted to say if you're a woman who is listening who feels timeline. Timeline was one of the hardest things to relinquish control over because I can't control timeline. And comparing myself to others. Oh my gosh, this person has a miracle in a week. What is taking me so long, you know? Or looking at how my husband's doing. If I'm looking at those things as a barometer of how I'm doing, I feel like those things in some ways, I wouldn't say they halted my progress, but at times they made me feel like I wasn't making the progress I wanted to make. But now with that, see, one thing I love about your program too, I always want to say a Dickensian view. You know, it's like the things I did wrong, the things I'm doing now and how it affects the future. It's like the ghost of Christmas past. Like when I look at all that stuff, right, and I go, I think I needed all the time I did with self care and gratitudes, where he didn't even seem to be paying attention, to really be on my paper. Because I can drift over to how's he doing? That means how I'm doing. How's Sue Ann doing over there? Oh, that means I'm not doing good. Because she's doing good, I'm not doing good. Like somehow her success is taking something away from me, right?
Yeah.
And and then the physical intimacy I wanted so bad. Well, why is it taking so long? Why is it like I think finally just making peace with the fact that I don't get control and say over the timeline, because I don't. I mean, it's something I still have to remind myself of, like how my husband's doing now. I don't get to control his timeline for, his recovery. I just don't get a say over that. Um, Even when it feels hard and slow, you know what I can always do? Make a gratitude list.
And that's where your power comes from. It sounds like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
just shifting like for today, actually it's pretty good. You were born and you can buy eye cream, buy overpriced eye cream
There
if
you
you really
go.
wanted to.
Yes.
So I love that. And okay, but it feels this really the physical intimacy piece coming back, that really feels like, okay, now I'm here. I have my miracle. And I hear you saying there's more to come. But look at that big smile on your face.
Yeah. It
Really?
was very validating. I'm not going to lie. People chase different things. Like for some, maybe it would be getting a really expensive piece of jewelry. Me, it's like, just bring back the good sex. I love that. Like to me, that's my, I just love it. It's kind of my thing. I love that form of validation. It's kind of a double duty skill too. It both unites us, makes me feel great. So,
Yeah,
and
lots
it's
of
very
pleasure, lots of
validating.
receiving. Yeah, very
Yes.
validating.
Yes.
And so for someone who's listening where that's her challenge too, like there's
Hmm.
this, sex is gone and she really wants that physical intimacy back. Um, yeah, I mean, she's where you were. Like, why
Hmm.
is it taking so long? I'm using the skills. This isn't fair. Right. And she wants what you have now. Where, yeah. And it's the whole thing, right? You're meditating together and you
Yeah.
are parenting in a way that feels peaceful and like everybody's connected.
Hmm.
What is your tip for her?
Relinquish control of that timeline. It's like nobody wants to hear that. I certainly didn't want to hear that. I
No.
really didn't want to hear that. But, and I'll also say this, that when I went to the ocean 30 days, it was because I loved being pummeled around in the waves. I love getting in there. And it's like I found other things. I took CrossFit then, found other things that were like physically really immersive as a sort of a replacement during, and it was really the best thing I could have done. because I needed a replacement.
Yes.
So I guess I would tell her, like get into like a physical hobby that really consumes you while you relinquish control of the timeline, because trying to force the timeline, it just never worked for me,
Yeah. Yeah. So you really had your finger right on the pulse of your, how do I feel? What do I want? And it was CrossFit and being pummeled by the ocean.
Yeah.
Like there was a physical need, a
Yes,
physical
things that took
desire.
all of my body, 'Cause that's
Yeah.
why we love physical intimacy, right? It's like it
Yeah.
engages all my five senses, pulls me in, that's what I would recommend. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
what I would
Yeah.
recommend.
I love it.
Mhm.
And then what about, because I kind of hear a theme with you too, Sabrina, about having been, you've thought about your desirability physically, and
Uh-huh.
now you think about your desirability, um, like your dignity, your softness, your voice, your
Yeah.
femininity. What is your tip for somebody who wants to be more desirable to her husband?
Um, Let me think of a good answer for that, because that is something I didn't even think about. Um,
But I feel like it's something you've accomplished.
oh, okay. Well, then I would say for me, it probably came from a lot of listening. So if a woman who's listening to this podcast is not in Ridiculously Happy Wives, which probably a huge ton of them aren't, then I would just this is what I did, listen to every single podcast and took tips from every single podcast. I feel like listening really broadened my experience. I think I was a very self-referential person. And by really, really listening and hearing a wide swath of people's experiences, I think that really opened me up to so many different possibilities. And then if she could do that experiment, then I can do that experiment, that kind of thing. I think that's what I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So yeah, listening big,
Hmm.
being
Yeah.
open and yeah, fantastic. Well, congratulations on getting this miracle. I love that you got the physical intimacy back.
Hmm.
What would you say to Sabrina if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
Yeah. Those three little pieces of, if you can let go of the timeline. Well, I feel like I'm talking to her now. And yeah, I remember I didn't want to hear it. And I'm glad there was a little inkling of willingness to let go of the timeline and get into gratitude, because no one can stop me from gratitude, like it doesn't have to do with how he's doing, or anything. It's like I can access gratitude 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just starts with like the first thing, and and then the other thing I would tell her, gosh, what else would I tell her? Well, yeah. Find self care that you really like and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And when you're doing it, say, I am doing this for self care. Because I did a lot of things before I ever found your program. But I didn't used to say, I'm doing this for self care, And really, by saying, I'm doing this for self care, it makes a really big difference in it as self care.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like a sense of gratitude, like for taking a shower or something, right? Like
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, my shower is like a little holy cathedral for me now. I love my shower, and that's on my list. And like you said, no, yeah, just making those things like I'm doing this because this helps me be on my paper. I'm doing this because this makes me glad I'm alive. I'm doing this because, it feels just great to merge with nature. I'm doing, like all those things again, and, dot, 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 that really don't have anything to do with quote unquote him. I mean, I love him and I love having a him, but so much of this stuff is really just like those things that just make me glad to be alive. And that's going to make me show up as a better partner?
And more guy, girl of fun and light, probably
Yes.
more attractive too. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I love that. Well, and this is just such a victory. I want to congratulate you and also give you my best wife award.
Thank
You
you.
deserve
Thank
it.
you.
This has been incredible. I mean, I feel like you have been patient. You've been determined. You've been, yeah, really steadfast and committed to making your marriage great, even though there was a lot of times when it sounds like you didn't really think it was ever going to happen. And that was why the timeline was so hard. And yet you're here to say, like, no, it did happen, and it happened at the right time, like as you needed it, right? That your development was best served by this timeline. And the result is that you've got this happy family. You've got this loving couple. You've got this man who really wants to take care of his wife and daughter. And I give you all the credit for creating that beautiful family life where there was, a lot of conflict before, a lot of stress. So I just think it's the best accomplishment ever on the planet. So well done, Sabrina.
Thank you very much. And thank you for making this whole shebang with Coach Kathy, because I love that it's so all encompassing,
Yeah. Well, it's, having people like you join and go all in on it and become coaches, is really what keeps it all going. And I'm so grateful too. So thank you. This was great to hear your whole story. I just loved it. I'm very inspired, and bet you everybody else is too.
Thank you. You're a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you.
For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.